Hey everybody, welcome back to the SuperBake podcast. I'm your host, Baker. Let's talk about stuff. Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. So, I just got back from watching Horizon and American Saga, Chapter 1 in theaters. Saw it with a buddy of mine. I will do a review of that. That's probably going to be not this episode, but probably the next one. So probably look for that either later this week or sometime next week. So I'll give my thoughts on that film. But I came back from that and I saw some trailers for some movies. One of them was a trailer for the new Twisters movie coming out. And I like the first movie from like the 90s. Like it's kind of a guilty pleasure movie. It's not what I would consider to be like a fantastic film by any means, but it's good. It stars the late Bill Paxton as well as Helen Hunt and several others. I think Philip Seymour Hoffman. That's it. I couldn't think of his name. The late Philip Seymour Hoffman. He's in there as well. It's got a few other actors as well in the film, but like I saw that movie, when I was a kid, and it kind of scared me, made me afraid of tornadoes for the longest time. But looking back, it's kind of a silly movie. But I mean, I still like it. I still watch it from time to time if it's ever on like streaming or something like that. The sequel it's interesting that they're doing this now, especially after all these years. The original came out in 96, so it's been, well over 20, almost 30 years since the original came out. So it's kind of odd that they're doing it now of all times. Kind of feel like they missed the boat on that. But I just keep watching it, and like me and my friend were talking about that, and we're just like, it looks so stupid, but like in a fun way. Like it looks dumb, but I'm totally on board with it. Just the idea that there's these tornadoes going around and that somehow they're going after specific people in the movies. Like, I mean, they don't say that, obviously that's not the story, but like you can tell like they go after these individuals instead of just doing what tornadoes do and just destroy everything in their path. It's like they target these specific characters because that's just what the movie calls for. It's so stupid. It's the stuff I see in the trailer, like the part where the tornado catches on fire, and oh my god, there's one part in the trailer where like they have spikes come out of one of the trucks and they burrow into the ground because somehow that's supposed to help protect you from the tornado. It's like, I'm pretty sure EF5 tornadoes like rip foundations out of the ground, or at least that they can. Like they rip trees out of the ground. I don't think couple spikes going a foot or two into the ground is going to really help you. Also, it doesn't change the fact that tornadoes are also just throwing stuff at you. So like if it throws like a damn truck at your truck, I don't think that's going to help you too much. And something else I want to point out about it too is I love the fact that these movies are kind of going the same route as like the Alien movies. Like, because you had Alien, because there was one alien, and then you had aliens for obvious reasons. So now they're doing the same thing with Twister. It's like in the first Twister, you had Twister, even though there were more than one tornadoes in that film. And now you've got Twisters. I would love it if Hollywood just went full stupid on this movie and just made it where like, oh, there's a queen twister and it's giving birth to smaller twisters and they're destroying the world. Like, oh my god. I mean, I know they're not going to do that, but if they went down that road, I would love this movie. This would be my contender for movie of 2024. I haven't even seen it yet, and I think if they did that, that would just be incredible. If they just went full stupid on this movie, just make it as dumb as possible. Like Sharknado, but minus the sharks, basically. I would love it if they did that with this film. I mean, I'm going to watch it. It comes out next month. I think it's July 12th is the release date, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, I'm going to check it out for sure. Just because I know it's going to be a good time. It's going to be one of those fun, dumb popcorn flicks. I can't talk. So yeah, like I'm curious to see it. But regardless, that's not the topic of tonight's video. The topic of tonight's episode is the trailer for the remake of Nosferatu, as Willem Dafoe says it. He is in a lot of movies right now. Like he was in the trailer for the upcoming Beetlejuice movie. Like now he's in this movie. I feel like there's at least one more in this year that he's been in that I'm sure I'm forgetting about. But man, the dude's he's getting some work lately. But anyways, this is a remake of the 1922 film of the same name, based on Bram Stoker's 1897 novel Dracula. This movie, it looks like the premise, just kind of briefly to go over it, based on like the limited research I've done, it's basically a tale about a young woman who is being haunted by a vampire named Count Orlok, And while he's coming after her, he also holds this town that she's living in the grips of his terror, essentially. And that's basically the premise in a nutshell. The new film stars Bill Skarsgård as Count Orlok, also known as Nosferatu. Of course, many of you will know him as Pennywise, which to me seems like an excellent choice for the vampire. Nicholas Hoult, that I recognized in the trailer. Lily Rose Depp is the woman that Count Orlok is coming after in the film. Aaron Taylor Johnson is in there, which I thought I saw a glimpse of him in the trailer. And then, of course, I mentioned Willem Dafoe. He's in the trailer. The way Willem Dafoe says Nosferatu, I can't get it out of my head, just Nosferatu. So you may hear me saying it like how he does throughout this review. This is being directed by Robert Eggers, the same guy that directed The Witch, and as well as, what was it, The Lighthouse? I believe that was another movie that he had worked on as well. I haven't seen The Lighthouse. I've seen The Witch. He did The Northman. I've seen that. So I've seen 3 of those movies so far. I do want to watch The Lighthouse because I've heard it's a very, very well-made movie. But yeah, this comes out Christmas Day. Apparently, this was a passion project that Eggers had since 2015 after he finished working on The Witch. Apparently they had either started working on it or had planned to work on this film, but it had been put on the back burner, I guess, for different reasons. And then he had worked on, The Lighthouse and The Northman and stuff like that. Apparently Anya Taylor-Joy was also supposed to be in talks to work on this film, but that unfortunately didn't happen either. So this is a film that he's been wanting to make for a long time, not too different from the movie I saw today, Horizon by Kevin Costner, also a passion project. So the fact that this is something that he's been wanting to make for a while definitely has me curious to see it. And Bill Skarsgård as the title character, I love Bill Skarsgård. I think he's a fantastic actor. Seems to be quite a bit of work now as like playing monsters in movies. He's already got Pennywise under his belt. Now he's got this. Yeah, just looking at the trailer, it definitely has like that gothic horror look to it. It almost kind of makes me think of like a Tim Burton film. Just the way the town that they're in looks, it definitely has like that gothic look to it. There's a part in the trailer where it shows like this big, like a shadow of a hand going over the town. I think that's supposed to be kind of symbolizing Count Orlok's kind of grip that he's got on this town and the people in it. Nicholas Holt's character in the trailer, it looks like he also has some kind of supernatural connection to the Count. I've never seen the original, so I don't know how closely this is going to follow that story, or if it's going to kind of deviate in some ways. But so maybe Nicholas Hoult is supposed to be like the Count's, maybe one of his servants or something, or maybe someone that the Count turns into a vampire. It definitely looks like there's something supernatural going on there. And then, of course, you don't actually see the Count in the trailer. You don't see Nosferatu. You get like a small glimpse of kind of his profile as he's turning around towards the camera in one scene, but you don't really ever see him, which I think is definitely a good idea. Just given the fact that it's such a iconic look, like the original Nosferatu is so creepy looking, I do think it works to the film's benefit if we don't see what Bill Skarsgård looks like in full makeup, at least not until either the movie comes out or closer to it. So I'm personally glad that we don't actually see the actual monster in this trailer. This is supposed to be a teaser trailer after all. You don't want to give too much away in the teaser. There's one shot of him in the trailer that I think, to me, is a fantastic shot. It's when this door opens up right before they say his name, and you just see the Count standing in darkness, and he's got two dogs with him, just on either side of him, and just the look of that scene, like he's just shrouded in complete darkness, and he's just a silhouette, and you can't make out any details of the character. That whole thing that was super creepy looking. So yeah, this has promise, and the fact that Robert Eggers is the one behind it, that gives me a lot of hope as well. Let's see. Oh yeah, cinematography is, and I'm hoping not butchering this name. Jaron Blaschke is the cinematographer on this one, and they actually worked on other films too, with Robert Eggers. I believe they worked on The Northman. They also worked on The Lighthouse as well as The Witch. And they've also done Knock at the Cabin, the M. Night Shyamalan movie, which I haven't actually seen, but I heard, good things about. But this person, they also did cinematography for those other films too. So they've worked with Robert Eggers. They've got, a rapport with him. So that's great. I think it's cool to see, the same groups of people, for the most part, that worked on these other great films working on this one. Like, I really liked The Witch. I liked The Northman a lot. And again, I need to see The Lighthouse. I have not seen it yet. I'm sure the fact that Willem Dafoe's in that one and that he's in this one too, I'm sure that's no coincidence either. But yeah, it comes out Christmas Day. I'm pretty excited for this one. And I don't have a lot of criticisms as far as the trailer goes. It's definitely creepy. Just the way the music's playing, the score of the trailer, like the way that music is kind of building up the tensity as it moves towards the ending. This has me excited. Like, I'm not really big into vampire movies. I saw Voyage of the Demeter last year, around the time when like the new Exorcist film came out, and I thought it was pretty good. It was a pretty decent, monster film. Nothing fantastic, nothing to write home about, but pretty good and enjoyable. I liked it. This definitely seems like it's going to be a step above that. Just the acting seems like it's top notch. Nicholas Hoult really looks like he's trying to just hammer it home with his performance. And then Bill Skarsgård, who I think is just a phenomenal actor. There's no doubt in my mind he's going to knock it out of the park as Nosferatu. Just the few glimpses you get of him in this trailer alone, he already has this very menacing appearance to him. So yeah, there's no doubt in my mind that he's going to play a great monster once again, just like he did with Pennywise. I really like Bill Skarsgård. I hope he gets more roles where he's not just the villain, where he can also be a hero as well. But man, he plays these monsters. He plays these monsters in these movies really well. I don't want to see him get typecast in these kinds of roles, but it's hard to deny the man's got talent when it comes to playing creepy, monstrous villains in films. But yeah, it comes out Christmas Day this year. This is definitely something that I will be checking out for sure, and I'm excited about this one. So I guess the theme for tonight's going to be scary movie trailers, because the next one I'm going to talk about is the trailer for Longlegs, coming out next month, July 12th, starring Micah Monroe from It Follows, as well as Nicolas Cage. There was a trailer that came out for this one a few months ago. I think the latest trailer came out a couple weeks ago. I had meant to talk about this on the podcast, but it had completely slipped my mind just with other things going on. I'm definitely interested in this film. One, Micah Monroe's in it. I think she's a really impressive actress. I haven't seen her in a whole lot. I know she was in Independence Day Resurgence, which wasn't a great movie, but she, at least for me, the first film that I saw her in was It Follows, and that, to me, that really stuck with me as being a pretty creepy film. So I think she definitely showed her acting chops, at least as far as horror movies go, in that one. And she definitely looks like she's going to continue that trend in this one. I'm glad to see her getting more mainstream work in films. Nicolas Cage he's Nicolas Cage. I mean, you're going to get an interesting performance out of him regardless. So the movie's directed by Osgood Perkins. I looked up his filmography. I didn't really recognize too much that he's worked on. The Blackcoat's Daughter, that sounds familiar, but I don't think I've seen it. Gretel and Hansel in 2020. And I guess he's got The Monkey coming out later this year. I think that's a remake of another horror film, if I'm not mistaken. So don't recognize his filmography too much, but that doesn't discourage me, honestly. It seems like sometimes with newer filmmakers, you get decent projects like this, so this definitely looks like it has potential. As far as the premise goes, it looks like it looks like it has a similar premise to the Silence of the Lambs. Micah Monroe plays an FBI agent who is trying to hunt down a serial killer. The serial killer in this movie is played by Nicolas Cage, who I guess their alias is Longlegs. And they have been going around murdering people, and each time that they do, I guess they leave their calling card is a doll that they make, and they either leave it with the victims before they kill them or afterwards. I can't remember which one it is. And there seems to be sort of an occult following with the killer, so there seems to be sort of almost a semi-supernatural edge to them. And then also in the trailer, it seems to be implied that Micah Monroe's character has some sort of connection with the serial killer that she's trying to catch. So right off the bat, just the fact that premise alone kind of it reminds me a lot of The Silence of the Lambs, the whole FBI trying to catch a serial killer motive. But the trailer itself is really unnerving. The first one I saw is just, it's so creepy. You get little glimpses of Nicolas Cage in this movie, but you never really get a good look at him. But you hear his creepy voice narrating throughout the trailer, which for me personally I think was very effective. Again, kind of going back to what I said about the Nosferatu trailer, I think the whole less is more really works in this film's favor, not seeing what the killer looks like prior to seeing the movie. Excuse me. There's a lot of scenes in the trailer too that kind of give it sort of like the supernatural edge. Like just the fact that there's a part where Micah Monroe's character, she's like reading like different pieces of literature, trying to learn more about the killer. Like one of them is like the 9 Circles of Hell. Like she's looking at that. She's looking at different kind of occult symbols and stuff that seem to have to do with the killer. So it looks like she's kind of like really trying to dive into it and trying to figure out who he is. And even her character, it seems like there's sort of like this edge to her, like where kind of makes me think of Edward Norton's character from Red Dragon, where she almost kind of seems like she has this attachment to either the killer or the killings, where she can kind of maybe understand what's going on a little bit. So I think there's kind of this implication in the movie that she seems to have almost like this, maybe not supernatural power, but she maybe has this ability to kind of understand crime scenes and murders maybe better than the average person. I'm not really sure on that, so I'll kind of have to see like if they explore that in this film a little bit. Nicolas Cage too, like I know he has a reputation for being kind of like this silly over-the-top actor, like in movies like Willy's Wonderland and stuff like that, and Renfield, but this definitely looks like it could be like one of those films that really cements him as, you know, a impressive actor. Like I thought he was phenomenal in Pig. I loved that movie. That was definitely one of my favorite films to come out in recent years that he was in. And this looks like it could be another one of those films like in his filmography where people will remember him for giving a creepy performance. I don't want to get too ahead of myself because I haven't actually seen the movie yet. I was also surprised too. I saw Kiernan Shipka is in the trailer for this movie as well. Like she seems to be one of the surviving victims of Nicolas Cage's character in this. And I almost didn't recognize her in the trailer. Like she's not in a whole lot of it, but there is a scene where Micah Monroe's character is talking to her and interviewing her after the events of what happened with the serial killer. And when I was looking at that, I was like, oh my God, that's the girl who played Don Draper's daughter from Mad Men. I know she's been in other things. I think she was in the Sabrina series on Netflix. I haven't watched it yet. So, but yeah, like I recognized her. So yeah, it was cool to see her in this film as well, to kind of see her in more of a mainstream film. I love Silence of the Lambs. It's one of my favorite, like, scary films. I think it was, like, one of the few scary movies that was actually, like, I think it won Best Picture, or at least was nominated for it. I don't want to speak too soon and say that this is going to be, like, in the same league as Silence of the Lambs, but it definitely looks like it has promise. And again, like with Nicolas Cage as the killer, I think he also produced this film, if I'm not mistaken. I think he helped produce it, and I think it was one of his production companies that helped with this movie as well. Yeah, produced by Nicolas Cage, and I think it was, well, I know Neon is one of the companies that's distributing it, but I thought they said that Nicolas Cage, like one of his production companies, was helping with this film as well. But yeah, this comes out July 12th. I'm interested in watching it. If I do, I might give a review for it on here. It's been a while since I've seen a good scary film in theaters, and this definitely has like that creepy, unnerving quality to it. Like it doesn't look like it's going to have a whole lot in the way of jump scares. It looks like it's going to be more atmospheric, just based on some of the stuff that you see in the trailer. Like again, it doesn't look like there's a whole lot of like, I mean, I guess there's a couple scenes where you see like what looks like some violent acts taking place. People shooting off fireworks. Well, it's that time of year. Sorry if you hear fireworks going off during the podcast, but unfortunately there's not much I can do with it. The 4th of July is coming up, so people got to blow stuff up. But yeah, this, it definitely looks interesting. Just the, again, in the trailer, you don't see a lot of violence. You don't see a lot happening. It's mostly just like wide angle shots of like Monroe's character going around investigating. There's a scene where she's standing outside of a cabin and you see a figure going into it, which looks like Nicolas Cage, or at least I assume it is. It looks like there's a lot of shots of just like characters kind of facing the camera and just mostly like expository dialogue happening. There's definitely quite a bit of that in this trailer. It seems like they've done a good job of trying to omit a lot of details from the movie, which has me kind of excited. Like I like when films don't give away too much when you're watching the advertisements for them. I like going into the film not knowing as much as possible. Like spoilers don't bother me that much, but I do prefer knowing as little about a movie as possible before I go into it, particularly a scary movie, just because I feel like the less you know about them, the more impact the scares have. But for my 2 cents, this definitely looks like it's worth checking out. I'll definitely go see it for sure. I'm more used to watching scary films like in the fall around Halloween, so it's interesting to see this around the 4th of July, but it definitely has me interested at the very least. And anything with Nicolas Cage, I'm definitely on board with. So hopefully it's good. Yeah, I'll definitely let you guys know whenever I check it out. All right, everyone, that's going to conclude tonight's episode. Once again, if you like what you heard, I am on Anchor, Spotify, and YouTube. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll catch you all next time. Later.